Yo, what's going on YouTube? Welcome back to the 4545 podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in to another one of my videos. It's me, Tulo Family, coming at you with another video on the Euro 2020 competition. Today, we're going to be reviewing England versus Scotland. This was the most hyped up match of the century. Oh my goodness. ESPN was hyping this joint up like crazy. And then it turned out to be one of the most boring matches I've seen at the Euro 2020 competition. And that is no doubt thanks to England. I mean, Scotland, you know what to expect from Scotland. We're not expecting high-flying football. But England, that performance was, it was trash. So we're going to be getting into that and much more today on this episode of the 4545 podcast. I feel like I owe you guys a lot. So here it is. This is my gratitude. Forgive me for wearing this. It is hot. It is hot. Subscribe for me if you're new to the channel. And let's get right into it. Without further ado, cue that intro. England versus Scotland. This was one of the most hyped matches. Hyped up, most talked about matches that I've seen on ESPN Soccer in a while. I mean, they were really sizing this game up. And I thought that England were going to come out after that kind of, lackluster performance against Croatia in the first game. I thought they were going to come out guns blazing. This is the biggest opportunity. It's the oldest rivalry in footballing history, or international rivalry. So, I thought this game was going to be back and forth, end-to-end, live action. No, this game was a snooze fest. England plays so lethargic. It's ironic because they have such great attacking talent. But maybe these players are tired, maybe because of COVID and the long season that they just had. But man, this game was boring. There were chances for both teams, but realistically, this game had 0-0 written all over it. There was a chance in the first half for John Stones. His header clanged off the post. And that was really it. That was probably England's best chance. And for me to say that is just sad. England have so many attacking options. Off the bench, they have great players. Starting, they have world-class talents. What happened today, England? England fans, let me know what you think. It was poor. Starting from the back, England are too slow bringing the ball up forward. I think Gareth Southgate likes to, build from the back. He likes that slow build up, just to wear out the opponent. But what it really does is it makes England turn into Manchester United against some of the lesser teams. What I mean by that is if you've ever seen Manchester United play against the likes of Burnley or Brighton or any one of those teams that like to just drop back and sit, the build-up play is so slow. It's absolutely dreadful to watch. The left back or the right back will try and bring the ball up the field. No one is making any run to create space for themselves or another teammate. So what they do, they turn right back around and pass it back to the center back. Now what this does is allow Scotland, or any other team in this case, to push up the field. Scotland were already compact in their defense. They came with a game plan. Let's not make the same mistakes we did against the Czech Republic in our first game. Defensively, they were solid today. They gave very few chances away. But of course, offensively, they don't have the real creativity and spark that this England team has. But for some reason, nothing is clicking for England. Harry Kane again had a pretty abysmal game. He did nothing. He offered nothing. There were times where we see him drift off to the wing to try and get on the ball, try and create. And there was a chance that he created for Reece James, but the shot went over the bar. Now here's my problem with England. With all these attacking options on the field, on the bench, why does Gareth Southgate continuously depend on slow build-up? Having a solid midfield pairing that can't really create. Declan Rice and Calvin Phillips are not creative midfielders. They're just not. You have Jude Bellingham on the bench. You have Mason Mount, who's ahead of these two, but he can't do it all on his own, especially when teams are playing so defensively. Scotland lined up with a 3-5-2, or I believe it was a 5-3-2. On defense, that turns into like 8 people behind the ball, sometimes even 9. It's impossible to get past, especially when you have 2 defense-minded midfielders. Now looking over to Phil Foden, looking over to Raheem Sterling, Foden offered something different for England today. He was very dynamic in his play. He's a great dribbler of the ball. He has great feet. But the final third just wasn't there. Raheem Sterling, once again, I don't know. After his performance against Croatia, I was really surprised as to why everybody was singing his praises. Don't get me wrong, he scored, yes, and he had a decent game, but it wasn't anything to, go shouting about. It wasn't Raheem Sterling back to his best. And now we're in a situation where if Raheem Sterling cuts it on his right, there's so many numbers behind the ball that He's going to get past one player, then have to get past another, then have to get past another, and then he's just going to end up passing it up or losing the ball, which he did in this game as well. I thought Southgate bringing on Jack Grealish was the right move, and it paid off. Jack Grealish was instantly trying to go at players. But the problem is the game was already set in a way where Scotland could control the tempo of the game. That's just how it went. If England were attacking in numbers, then Scotland were defending in numbers. It was too easy for them to just relax in the back, relax in the defense, and let England come onto them. Because England's creativity lacks. Harry Kane got subbed off today. Harry Kane, he's been in woeful form. This is the same guy that wants to leave Spurs, and everyone's talking about he's going to leave for no less than 120 million pounds. The performances we've seen in the last two games are like Marwan Shamak performances. I'm sorry, it may be harsh, but it's not like Harry Kane has been doing anything special. Marcus Rashford comes on and immediately his pace causes problems for the Scottish defense. But can I say one thing actually before I continue? Scott McTominay played center back today for Scotland and he was fantastic. He was absolutely fantastic. Is that a new position that Manchester United have to explore? Also on the Scotland team, Billy Gilmour started for the very first time in a major European competition. He looks like a promising midfielder, but in this game, you could tell that the game plan set by the coach for him was just to keep the ball moving. He wasn't supposed to be doing too much. He wasn't supposed to be getting too forward. He was just that anchor in midfield that allowed, the likes of McTominay and Tierney to kind of push up a little bit more if they needed to. Now, I'm going to get into the key players in this match in a second. Before I do, England, I don't know what is going on with this team. I don't know if they just lack creativity or if Gareth Southgate's tactics are really this bad, but something needs to change. Something has to give. I think now you have to start rotating players. Jadon Sancho hasn't had a minute in this tournament. Bukayo Saka hasn't had a minute in this tournament. Reece James started today ahead of Kyle Walker and really didn't offer anything going forward, which is what he was brought in to do. Do you put Kieran Trippier in that position? I think you do, because at this point, the creativity in England's fullbacks are kind of lacking. Luke Shaw, I thought he did a decent job today. He was making great forward passes. He was finding players in key areas of the pitch. But, he couldn't really do much because the England team wasn't really moving. They weren't fluid in their motion. They weren't really fluid in their passing, and they weren't on the same headspace. A lot of players were making runs that weren't found. A lot of passes were off. Something is going on in that England camp. It's all smiles when you see the Instagram pictures. It's all smiles when you see, videos from players and the team. But when they go on the pitch, they're piss poor. They're absolutely poor. Today was another example of why they're just such an underwhelming team. And everyone came into this tournament thinking that England were going to be the favorites to win. I had them going to the final. They need to pick it up quickly. Maybe, like I said, play new players. Play Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Play Marcus Rashford. Play Jadon Sancho. Play Jude Bellingham. Play Bukayo Saka. Switch it up. There is nothing wrong with switching it up. You have the last game against the Czech, so this is your most important game. Both teams are tied for first with 4 points. England has to win. I know they can get away with a draw, but England have to win. I don't want to, have to say that they're just going to have to rely on a draw. They're going to have to beat the Czech Republic. So we'll see what happens there. That's really my thoughts on the game. I'll get into a few more right now with the key players. So, key players in this game, I have to be honest. The player that, really surprised me the most but had a fantastic game, Kieran Tierney. Scotland missed him in that first game. He is so crucial. He was playing in that left center back role, which is not the role that he's used to playing for Arsenal. But man, was he immense. His pace really, really frustrated the England players. Phil Foden is a quick player. Raheem Sterling has electric pace. But they were struggling. When England were going on the counterattack, Kieran Tierney would stay back, because I think Andy Robertson would be the one taking the corner kicks. Tierney staying back as one of two defenders was crucial. His pace, he is quick. Like, that guy is very fast. No wonder he was able to create so much for Arsenal, bombing up and down the left side. That wasn't his duty today. It was more of a cleanup role, and he did it fantastically well. Another standout player I thought for Scotland was actually Scott McTominay. He had a decent game at center back, which, I never thought I'd say, because McTominay has always been that defensive-minded midfielder. But he had a great game. He was solid in his tackling. He was very strong and commanding in the back line, which, kudos, fair play. One more player that I thought Scotland was just, they were living off of for a second, Che Adams. Now, I thought this guy was English, but he did the switcheroo and decided, let me be Scottish. Yeah, it was a terrible accent, my bad. He's not a striker that you're scared of in front of goal, I feel like. He doesn't really get into good goal scoring opportunities for club and country. But one thing that Che Adams does is he knows how to hold the play up. He knows how to hold the ball and wait for teammates to get into position. Or if they're on the counter attack, he'll slightly bring the ball back, making it seem like he's going to slow the play down, but then he'll quickly find one of his teammates making an overlapping run. This was absolutely crucial for Scotland. If they had more attacking players who could actually just penetrate the defense, impact the game at a larger scale, then maybe they would have nicked at least one goal against this England team. But man, overall, the game was just dull. Unfortunately for England, there's not really one player that I can say that had a great game. It wasn't a good performance by Harry Kane, hence why he got subbed off. There were a few scares here and there, but overall, it wasn't nothing to be crazy about. I don't think any England player had, a good performance in my opinion. I thought Jack Grealish came on and did what he had to do, what he needed to do, but it still didn't help England win the game. Like I said, there's going to need to be major changes if this England team want to compete against the likes of Belgium, against the likes of Italy, who have already qualified for the knockout stages. Now, speaking of Belgium and Italy, I want to just talk about their results and how they're getting into the knockout stage. Italy are the surprise package. They have absolutely outshone their opponents in every way possible. The possession game is wonderful. The hold-up play from the strikers is wonderful. The wing play is superb. Now they're going into the knockout stages as some serious contenders. They're looking better than England. If Italy were to play England right now, it would be a lot closer contest than most people would have thought at the start of the competition. As for Belgium, they're really looking strong, especially when Kevin De Bruyne was introduced into the Denmark game. Wow, Kevin De Bruyne is seriously something else. The first half in that game was absolutely dull from a Belgian point of view. Lukaku didn't really have much to do. Tielemans couldn't get a grasp of the game. But as soon as Kevin De Bruyne came on, they also brought on Axel Witsel. They also brought on Eden Hazard. The game switched. Belgium were on the front foot. And I love it. I love when one player comes on and can dictate the game. And Kevin De Bruyne is just the perfect player. He's one of the best players this world is seeing right now in this game. And he proved it. He had a goal and assist coming on, but somehow Lukaku won the star player of the match. I don't know about that one, UEFA, but either way, Kevin De Bruyne, what a performance. Now, going into the knockout stages, this is important. There are a lot of teams that are outperforming the standards that we had set for them, and there are a lot of teams underperforming the standards we had set for them. Now, I can't wait to see what Belgium does going on deeper into this tournament. I can't wait to see what Italy does because they could provide a few upsets. Either way, thank you so much for listening to this video. I know this one was a little bit longer, but I think it warranted the game that we saw today. Like I said, it was increasingly hyped up, and it was just a boring average game. Truth be told, a boring average game. Either way, thank you so much for watching this video. I'm definitely going to get one out tomorrow for the next round of group stage matches, so be on the lookout for that. If you're new around here, please subscribe. Drop a like for me if you could. Thank you so much for watching the 4545 podcast. Peace.